That's fair too.
Playoffs in 3 leagues, probably.
All right.
All
We're just
my good leagues.
all right. Mute. Here we go. Intro starting.
Wow, dude, you're quick. He's on the
Well,
ball.
Harold finished chewing. Jesus, we don't eat during the podcast.
You've done it before.
Yeah, but I mute myself and I don't talk all the time.
You literally started the YouTube like 2 seconds ago. Also, cheers, boys. Who's drinking?
I'm not.
There you go. Take it in. It is a smaller glass today, for the record.
It looks a lot filler too, though.
No, it's probably less than last week.
Thank God. All right, here we go. Mute.
Is that all bourbon, Miller?
Do I need to answer that? I don't know what you want it to be. I mean, it could be part apple juice if you want to feel better about yourself. Why? It's not like you cut it.
Hello! Welcome to the Trio of Positivity podcast, where there actually may be some positivity today. The Chicago Bears are under new management, in quotation marks, or in like an asterisk, under new management, and we appreciate you joining us today. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day, just like we are. This is the podcast where the boys and we get together, we analyze the Chicago sports scene to bring you some positivity, people. And hopefully we find some today because we are not letting Chris speak at all. I'm your co-host, Boopan, joined by my boys, the Positive Brigade. Chris is here. Miller's here. Boys, how we doing?
You should say, Miller, how are you doing, since we're not letting him talk? I'm fantastic. I just wanted to point out to everybody and anybody and everybody watching that, yes, your thoughts right now is yes. That is the Department of Government Efficiency hat on Boopin's head. Yes, it is. Congratulations for being right. Shout out to Preston, leader of Doge. Woo! And leader of men.
Leader of men. I like that. Chris, where you at today? Wow.
There's just something that
maybe I should not let you speak.
There's just something. You know what's funny is that these guys think that I can't talk, but I can actually boot them from this call, and I can just have the whole thing by myself. But also, let there be light. Let there be light. There it is.
Oh.
I just.
Is that a halo? I see a little.
That is a halo. That is a little.
Wow. Are we singing Beyonce in here? Do we need to
sing?
It's a halo, halo.
We have a lot to talk about. I have been told that I will be guaranteed 3 minutes of some kind of time to myself. But I actually care about hearing these guys' wrong opinions, just like everyone else that listens. So let's get started.
Awesome. Let's start with the social plug, people. We're on Facebook, Trio of Positivity Podcast. At X, we have Trio Positivity. YouTube at Trio of Positivity Podcast. And we may or may not have a TikTok. We have a website where Chris is still posting articles every week. Please check it out when you get a minute.
They just randomly get deleted. We don't know how, but you know.
Yeah, like it's like a very private website. But if you can't get on it, it's really great articles there.
Shout out to our Twitter. I think there was actually some activity there recently.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow. Okay. Miller's posting some rumors. So we are getting it going.
Wait, why is Miller getting credit? Hold on. It was me.
I know. That was bad. Yeah, I didn't do shit. That was all.
It was me.
It was all Chris.
No, I was going to give him a little crap for posting rumors from
I think one of the things that I wrote got like over 100 people to look at it. So it was interesting.
Nice. Well done. Yeah, something. Hey, we got.
We did something for the social media plug. So
hey, year 2, maybe in year 3, we'll actually.
Year 3, we're kicking ass. Year 3, when we fully know what's happening. Yeah,
we got them set up. You know, we are like poised to break out. But boys,
yeah, we're gonna have another coach to fire. So hell yeah, we're gonna get them going.
Hold your horses. All right, let's start here. We have a long episode. Obviously, if you guys are Bears fans, Chicago fans, you know what's going down. We'll cover all that. But before we get there, let's put our sophisticated hats on. If mine says Doge, and talk about the NFL football that just happened. Right? Any big trends, boys? Anything that stood out to you? Anything you want to share with the audience here?
Really? We have big ass news to talk about, and you want to talk about
The
other things?
reactions, Chris. The reactions are important. You have to understand the full concept of the week to really have the impact of the news that we will talk about later.
Fine.
And my reaction for this week pertains to two individuals that were former top 5 picks last year, Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, that were benched earlier this year for veteran plays. They have subsequently were deposited back into the unbenched back into the starter role and have played fairly decent. Bryce Young took Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs to the brink last week, and this week he took Tampa Bay to the brink. So and then Anthony Richardson has been looking pretty solid for Indy. I mean, it's not anything crazy, but it's definitely improvement. It is pretty surprising to see how much they struggled earlier in the year. They got benched for a few games, and then they're playing pretty decent. So interesting to see if that trend continues for those two quarterbacks.
Yeah, tough year for older quarterbacks too, especially coming off an ACL. Looking at you, Kirk Cousins. Looking at you, Aaron Rodgers. Tough years for them. Dalton couldn't hold on to the job from Bryce Young. Flacco couldn't hold on to the job to Anthony Richardson. So tough year for the older quarterback overall, I think, too.
Yeah, but they weren't really Flacco wasn't really meant to hold the job. I think
Flacco took people to the fantasy playoffs and probably won them titles last year.
Yeah, but he knew he was a backup going into the Colts team. Like he wasn't a starter. So I think that mentality is different.
It is different. You're right, Chris, but you're also wrong because he played like dog shit for 2 games.
Not before he was benched, though.
Yeah, he did. He played really bad for those 2 games.
That's why he was
Once he got labeled like the starter, because he was playing well when Anthony Richardson was hurt, but once he got called the starter and Anthony Richardson got benched, he played like shit.
Also, the teams that they played wasn't all that great either. But who's looking at that?
I don't know who the fuck they played, but
me neither. But similarly, Miller, like older running backs, right? Running backs in general, older running backs, mostly from a fantasy angle, they're very fragile, right? They don't make it through the year. They're injury prone. Like people don't want to draft them. But this year, I feel like especially the older ones that have changed teams, are back with a vengeance. Looking at Josh Jacobs up in Green Bay.
Jacobs isn't old.
He's not old.
But he's on a new team. I don't know. Like when he's like 25, 26 and then going to a different team, I think the odds of their success, I don't
But
think
it's not old.
It's not old.
For running backs, like 26 is like a freaking cliff, I think. 26,
no,
27?
29 is the cliff.
29 is the cliff. But anyway, going like Joe Mixon, right? Maybe you guys would agree to that. He was in Cincinnati forever. He's in Texans, was doing really well. Barkley just setting the league on fire in Eagles. Henry, even James Conner. James Conner, like he overcame cancer or something, didn't he? Like crazy story from Pittsburgh, and now like he got a 2-year extension. I may even throw Chubb in, not Chubb, Chuba Hubbard in there, who got a 2-year extension too.
He's still on his rookie deal, isn't he?
Is he? It's got a 2-year extension. That's what I saw. But my question was like, usually they are like, oh my god, they're going down like everything. But they have been far more sustainable than some of the younger guys. So is this an anomaly, you guys think, or like maybe like these people, at least second team, if not older people, have figured something out? You guys think?
I have no idea what your question is.
Yeah, you kind of lost me. So I'm just gonna ignore it and say that my reaction to the week was the Eagles Baltimore game. Left lots to talk about there. It was still entertaining, but I would have loved to see more of the running backs get like more spotlights.
Lamar is who we thought he was.
Lamar is who we thought he was.
Lamar was like 27-1 or something against NFC for that. So like he's only lost.
Big game Lamar, dude. Can't do it.
That game too, like I think Baltimore was up like 10-0 or 13-0 or something, and then Eagles were doing nothing, and all of a sudden it's like 14-10, and then like the game was out of hand like 2 fucking minutes later. It was like a crazy game too, but again, Barkley showed up at the end, sealed the win. It's like good to see. But that was my point. Like the older running backs are like staying healthy, having a fantasy impact, like real football impact.
I feel like all running backs have been staying healthy this year.
Yeah, that's a good trend too. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
What? Mm-hmm.
didn't we have a major injury in the running back?
Besides CMC.
Okay, thank you.
CMC has been a bust, like for number one overall.
But the injuries for running backs has been fairly low.
Yeah. Now, as Chris was mentioning earlier, Chris, you never let them see the goods on the first date. You like kind of keep them waiting, you know. So we couldn't just like go out with the big news. You want to kind of fill.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a hook.
No, there's no such thing. You want to show them early what you got, and that's what they're gonna get.
I don't know, bro.
You pull your pants down and you hope for the best.
I hope that works.
It's the Barney move. Come on, what is it called? The naked man.
The naked man.
Yes!
The naked man. All right.
Shout out to the playbook, whatever it was called.
Right.
Okay. Like Chris was talking about, the reason we are probably all here. Bears played on Thanksgiving. It seems like freaking 13 weeks ago at this point, but it was like a couple of days ago. We had a weekend. We had a good Thanksgiving. Everybody hopefully had a good one, but a lot went down. So we'll try our best to like kind of section it off and talk about things because there's lots to talk about the Bears. So let's start here. If you boys will indulge me, I have the quick recap, okay?
Okay.
Bears started slow again, like we have all season. We fell behind Detroit 16-0 at halftime, and we were down 23-7 after the third quarter. But Chicago mounted a second half comeback, and we had the ball late with a chance to be either go to OT or win the game, but tragically failed to lost the game 3 times in the third game. This is the third time this has happened, breaking my heart. In the final drive to push the game into OT, we had a penalty, we had a sack, about 40 seconds left. We had a timeout. All we could muster was a pass play, and the game ended. It was like really chaotic, really mismanaged. Like literally, we'll talk about it. The coach got fired. That's how bad it was. It looked really bad. I was watching the game like passively, and then I saw that we were driving, so I was actually watching the game. I thought that there was like a TV intermission or something that I missed something because I could not fathom that that's how it went down. We didn't even kick, we didn't even score, nothing. That's how bad it was. So third time we have lost tragically. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But we lost to the Lions on Thanksgiving. It's the first time they have won in Thanksgiving in like 8 weeks or 8 years or something like that too. But let's start with the positives, Miller, if it's okay with you. How did Caleb do in your opinion?
Caleb did great. I love it. Love it. He doesn't ever do anything wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Let's look under the hood here, shall we? 256, 3 TDs, no interceptions, like Boopin mentioned. The first half was really slow, albeit if you look at the details here, the defense couldn't stop Detroit to save their soul. They allowed 2, I think, drives that were upwards of 6-7 minutes apiece. So it really didn't allow our team to get a rhythm going. And really, we failed to even get a first down for most of the half. So they never really got in that rhythm, but obviously they did go into halftime and they came back with some adjustments and some good adjustments that allowed the offense to really look a lot better from the jump. The defense, they played okay. They played a little bit bend, don't break, but at the end of the day, they weren't stopping anybody. They had they did hold them to field goals quite a bit, but they didn't get that good field position for the offense or anything like that. The big storyline here, like the storyline that occurs every week, is how Caleb has done towards the end of games, and it's really been lights out. Boopin talked about the failures on that final drive. It is to be noted that that drive started from the 1 yard line, and they were able to bring it all the way to, I think, like the 20 before catastrophe happened. But Caleb had his struggles at the beginning. The whole offense did as a whole. The running game has been, again, non-existent for the most part. It really is led by Caleb these last 2 games. But overall, I mean, he's set the record for the longest streak of no interceptions by a rookie. He's like 225 pass attempts. So that's pretty impressive for him. He broke the Chicago Bears rookie record for passing yards. So he's starting to get to that point of the year, fellas, where he's going to be breaking the summer records.
All right.
Right, Chris?
He's just waiting on his time.
No, listen, I don't want to be a negative Nancy all the time. He did have a decent game given the circumstances. Thankfully, if we were to put this game under a microscope under different circumstances, we can probably nitpick a lot more. But I think Caleb is really gotten lucky of the fact that other news took over.
Interesting.
Please expand on that point.
That last drive for any other quarterback would have been a killer.
A killer in what extent?
For a rookie? Without
Yeah,
whose right tackle went out before the play before the sack?
Well, but you guys can word it any way you want. Those last 40 seconds of the game, any other quarterback that would have been in that position would have been thrown apart.
Any other quarterback that's not a rookie?
So
I'm just saying from the stance of the football play, if it was any other quarterback that had happened to, whether it was, we'll go big names. We'll go Mahomes. We'll go Hurts. We'll go anyone else. If anyone else was in that position, they would have been torn apart. And I think for Caleb's for Caleb's performance, he did good. I have no complaints except the last 40 seconds, but that all was not on him. He does have a particular blame to it, but it goes back to a lot of comments that were said prior to the week. The coaching staff, how they were trying to help and make adjustments. So he got lucky of the news that got broken out afterwards, because I think it would have been more dialed in just on those last 40 seconds. Just like in football, you could do anything great. You can have 5 touchdowns. You can have 1,000 yards thrown. But in those last 40 seconds, if you fuck up or if you do something, and I'm not saying him as a team, if you fuck up and the quarterback is under that microscope, he would have gotten looked at a lot more. So he gets a pass. He played great. The last 40 seconds were atrocious on so many levels. He's at fault for some of it. It is what it is.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to gloss over. You'll have your 3 minutes in a minute.
First of all, I'm not glossing over this. Fuck this shit. It's a long show. First of all, it wasn't 40 seconds. The sack happened at 32 seconds. By the last 32 seconds. By the time the team got lined up, it was 10 seconds. So he really is responsible for 3 seconds on that play clock for not snapping the ball.
No.
Now you can put his responsibility of calling a timeout.
Hold on.
So if you want to put that on him, I don't agree.
I'm not even putting the timeout on him. Like, after thinking about it and having a good amount of time to review that play over and over, this is what I'm, and I don't want to get too deep into this because we're going to go more into the conversation, but it's it's very obvious someone is talking to Caleb in his helmet.
Yes, when he's on the goddamn floor.
Someone is telling him what to do. So you can clearly see him put his hands in the helmet, and not only that, he audibles. So he's trying to get everyone back. Some wide receivers didn't even bother running back because they thought the timeout was going to get called. Like, you see it on the replays now. You see how bad the whole 40, and that's why I said 40 seconds. And that's why I'm not even putting it all on him.
But you just did. You said he would get blamed if they didn't fire the coach.
No. See, that's not what I said. What I said was, in that scenario, if it was any other quarterback, such as Mahomes, such as Hurts, anyone else,
Okay.
they would have gotten the blame for the
He
40
can I
seconds.
say what he shared? He addressed this to the media. Here's what he said. Okay, he had called a timeout the play before.
Yep.
So he was like, I didn't want to call another timeout. I am a rookie. Maybe later in my career, I will probably in future I'll call that timeout. But he did not feel like he would call another timeout
Right.
after calling one. So he was aware of the situation. He like chose like
He
he's a
chose to
rookie,
follow the play that was being called on his head.
right? He
That's
was like
that's why I'm saying, like, the more we talk about it, the more you guys are going to start realizing that it was a failure in all fronts. It was
Well,
a
even
failure in all fronts. But
Chris,
if it
your
was,
expectation on him is like
it has to be
unreasonable.
huge, though. It has to be.
Unreasonable. No, he's a rookie.
it's
We
I
talked
agree
about
with that because we talked about from the very beginning that this play, Caleb has blame and the coach has
Yeah.
blame.
Yeah,
There's
to an
no
extent,
doubt
yes.
to that.
Yes.
It's just your focus has always been on Caleb's blame,
Right. No,
rather
and
than
that's
the
why
entire
and that's why I'm
picture.
saying, and that's why I said, like, if it was any other
I
quarterback,
don't agree with that.
I think if Mahomes did exactly what
But I'm
with
glad
his
you are comparing this to Mahomes and Hurts and not like Tannehill and Andy Dalton.
we can
I'm
all of
I'm
those
hoping.
play I mean, but all of those quarterbacks, if they were in that same position, like, you can look at the Jacksonville quarterback, you can look at the Lions. If the Lions were in that
I mean,
position,
Goff is
they'll look at him and they'll be like, what the fuck are you doing?
I don't agree with that. I don't think I could ever remember time management being associated with a player. Whenever you're speaking about time management, it's directed
So,
towards the coach.
I agree.
unless you have
Time management.
Brady or
here's-
Rodgers.
No,
I
but here's-
disagree.
but here's-
I don't think that matters.
I think I see what Boopin is trying to say. Here's the way I think, the way that I'm thinking, and it's because I saw the replay, and then thanks to the NFL stuff that we have, you have different angles now. You can select different camera angles. When that sack happens, you see him getting the play, but then in another angle, you see the wide receivers walking, like they think. And they're the most seniority on this team, I would think, right? Like right now, I think they have the most years in the NFL. They think a timeout's coming. They don't think a spike is even going to happen. And obviously you won't
can't
spike
have a
in that
spike, yeah.
situation, right? You won't. But I'm just like thinking out loud. So Caleb does the whole thing. He's listening to the play, and then a couple seconds later, he's audibling. So he's being told two different things in his head. So that's why, to that extent, I'm saying it's not all on Caleb. He's
Well-
clearly being told what to do.
Well, yeah, he's going with the offensive coordinator.
right.
The offensive
offensive-
coordinator isn't going to make the decision. They're focusing on the
They're
right
focusing
then
on
and now.
what needs to happen. Right.
So he got the play. It then the clock
only-
was ticking.
the
By the
clock
time
was
everybody
ticking, right.
got set up, he
Here's-
realized that he didn't have time to run a play and then get the field goal unit on. So he called an audible to go to basically a Hail Mary type of play.
So, but
And
even
perfect.
that, well, I mean, I don't know if it was that. I think some of the
That's what he
conferences-
came out and said.
I think, but there's another conference that contradicts that too, and I don't, and that's going to be something that I'm going to talk about later.
Okay. Let's put a pin on that. But
Yeah, go ahead.
let's talk about that. That's a great point, right?
Yeah.
The play was so awful. Even
It was
survived.
bad all around. If you guys take the time to sign up, I forget what it's called. It's like NFL something, where you get to
NFL
look
Plus.
NFL Plus, look at the different angles of just the last play. Ignore Caleb until you get to 20 seconds.
Okay, we'll do.
If you
okay.
watch that, you're gonna see that the sideline is not moving. You're seeing that Caleb is trying. Like, he's trying to figure out what to do here. If you're seeing that kind of panic, someone, even if it was him, if he called a timeout, I would have been like, good for you, buddy. You avoided a shit show of what could have possibly
But you
happened.
were putting that on a first-year rookie instead of putting it
Well, no.
on 30
I'm
different
saying
people.
if he
Not
called the
totally
timeout, we
putting
would have
it
been praised him. Like, if he called the timeout without realizing what a shit show that was,
Which he
all of
did
us
2
here,
plays ago. But anyway,
but all of us would have been
that's
happy that he called the timeout.
okay. The play was so awful. We got rid of him. Flus is gone. He is terrible timing. He did a news conference, told people he was planning for San Francisco, was let go. So terrible timing on his part. But our offensive coordinator Thomas Brown is the interim head coach. Eberflus was fired not just for this mistake, but like this is again, like I said, a third heartbreaker loss in the last 3 games. Before that, we had 2 really stinker games against teams who we should be competitive with, if not win those games outright. So it was not just this game, but everything combined, I think. Plus the 5-19 record in one-score games, I think, cost Flu stuff like the coaching, and I don't think anyone in Chicago is sad that he's gone.
I say
disagree with that completely.
I will say
Eberflus is sad that he's gone.
Eberflus is sad, and he still has a timeout.
He's supposed to be working with fucking Brown for San Francisco. He's like the consultant. Supposedly.
Oh, really? He's already consulting like Salah? Oh, that's funny.
Here's the one thing I want to say, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. Boopin came up with the stats. What was his record in one-score games?
5-19. Shout out Stat Hole Sports.
Shout out Stat Hole Sports. If half of those games that he lost turned to wins, we would not be here.
Correct.
That's one, right? So now, if you're looking at that comparison, are we really ready to blame those 19 losses on just him?
You can't. You honestly can't.
Cool. We're on the same page there.
I would argue this year you can, for the most part, but the last 2 years you can't.
At least for 3.
More.
I'm giving him 3 benefit of the doubt.
I disagree with that. Houston, there was issues.
Washington.
Indy, there was issues. Washington, there was issues. Packers, there were issues. Detroit, there were issues. And you can argue, Minnesota, there was also issues. That's 6.
I think 2 of those games were more on players more than him, but
there were coaching. There were glaring coaching.
Issues. But I think you can make the argument that
you can make the argument, but there were legit.
I'll change it to 4 then.
There were legit coaching decisions that affected the outcome, or at least made it messy.
Now, getting even messier. I'm going to throw it over to our Twitter reporter there. Miller, tell us about the fiasco after the game in the locker room.
Yeah, so things after this game, obviously we covered the breakdown on that final drive there. We didn't really dive into the drive because there was a point where Caleb missed a pretty easy throw, if you will, across the middle. But then the next play later, he hit that throw, but there was a penalty, and that's kind of when this whole snafu happened. But after the game, there has now been substantial reporting and media appearances that have taken place. The first and foremost that came out yesterday was in regards to Jalen Johnson, apparently as a 5-year vet who's been with the Chicago Bears his entire career. He basically went on a 15-minute tirade about losing directly at Matt Eberflus in the entire situation.
He interrupted the coaches at post-game speech and said, F this,
Yeah, he was very vocal in the locker room after the game. Probably didn't go very well for the coaches, but very vocal. Keenan Allen came out in his after-game press conference and basically said, I'm paraphrasing here, but the players did everything they could to win that game, basically putting it on coaching as well. And then the other funny part was Flus came out in his presser, stood by his decision as he's done all season. His presser directly after the game, he stood by the decision not to call timeout and basically put the onus on Caleb Williams. So it was a big cluster. It just didn't come across well. The media took this entire situation and placed the 100% of the blame pretty much on Eberflus for his time management decisions, as has been an issue all year. And it just expounded the story. The fact that it was the first Thanksgiving game just put the magnifying glass on it. But it wasn't a pretty sight. Players have come out across the board talking about it. Komet made a statement in regards to it as well. So multiple players have come out now in regards to the efficiency of this end of game scenarios, if you will.
All right.
Want to preface one thing because this was the one I couldn't deal with Flus's post games anymore. But he did come out after the game and said they wanted to re-rack, get another playoff inbounds, and call a timeout. I put this on Twitter, and I think I put this to the group chat, and I think this is the first time that all of us collectively agreed. Flus unintentionally threw Caleb under the bus with that statement. Essentially putting, and that's why I've been very easy on him this game. Because as soon as I heard him say that, he took no ownership, but he essentially just said, well, this is what I wanted to do, and someone has to snap the ball and do what I want them to do, but they didn't do it. That's how I took it. As soon as I saw that, I thought my prediction of him getting fired after Thanksgiving would be a little bit more truer. I just did not like that statement. I know a lot of times some coaches will say like I'll defend it, or I it was necessary because they don't want to throw their players under the bus.
Especially a rookie.
Especially a rookie. But I think that's why a lot of times, like, yeah, if I had to do it again, I'll do it again, because I think if he starts nitpicking, the media will start saying, well, he wanted to do this, and like I think he'll be a divide. So I think there was definitely some safe answers from Flus after the game. But when he talks about that and he says that, that is throwing your franchise quarterback under the bus unintentionally, to the point where you are now saying, I knew what I wanted to do and I'm the head coach and they didn't do it.
Yeah. I think Miller said the key word, accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like even in his presser Monday, the ill-timed pressure on Monday, he still was defending the play, and he was saying, I would not do things differently. I would have followed
Friday. Yeah, but he kind of has to. Like he you have to stay on that horse. Like you can't go back, and everything was already set in stone.
After a day, Chris.
Yeah,
like
but everything is set in stone, though. Like,
I
you
know.
really think he would have said something different that would have saved his job? No.
No, like not saved his job, but like if I was a head coach and I have a rookie quarterback and I said what I said, I would at least.
I don't think he right. I see what you're saying, but I don't think he realized how bad of a statement that is. But that's why I'm going back to saying, and that's kind of what I'm going to get into later on.
Okay.
But that's where I'm saying, like, if you knew that you changed your answer and you took more accountability and you said it at that time, you think you're not getting fired? Like, anything you say at that point, you are still getting fired.
I think his fate was sealed. Either he got fired like 2 weeks ago now, or at the end of the season, he was getting fired. I think. But
to me, him and his pressers, like, I feel like when he talks, he doesn't really take accountability.
He's the PR person.
The reasoning that he gives is never good. He doesn't come out and give us his thought process on why he made a decision. He just says, at that time, I think that was the best decision. Like, that means nothing to me. Like we talked about with that field goal against the Packers and them not moving up the ball. If he came out and laid out a good scenario, like we talked about, if he would have went for it and he said, well, this is what we're looking at, the 76% in front of 40, we were trying to get there, so we had a better shot of doing it, and it ended up with a sack fumble. I think I would be better than him just saying, oh, that was the decision we made at that time, and that's what we thought was best.
I get that, Miller, and then I thought about it. Like, I did a lot of thinking. If he was to come out of that press conference and he would have said, you know what, guys, I should have called a timeout because then we could have done this and this and this and this. If I'm the media, I would have been like, brother, where was this then? That's the easiest decision you could have made. Like, anything he would have said at that point. The Green Bay game, we're always going to have a difference. But I think in that instance, if they were like, well, yeah, we should have called a timeout, and then we probably could have gotten one more pass out of bounds, or if Caleb can't throw it out of bounds, like, throw it away or spike it or do whatever you need to, and then we can get the field goal. I would have been like, brother, that's what you needed to do. Like, yeah, you're playing Monday morning quarterback. Like, you're gonna know the right answer.
Have you heard like Tomlin speak or Dan Campbell speak?
They don't talk like that though.
Yeah, they just go like the other way.
They're like, hey, that's what we did. Yeah. Next question.
No, they say that's on me. That's what they say. That's what the statement. And that's what he doesn't say. He doesn't ever say that.
Right, but that's what. Go ahead, Boopin. Sorry.
It's like no, like. That's the biggest, and like he had like my whole problem was you had a whole day Like you've heard press conferences, and it happened on the Bears. I forgot who. A receiver said something, and he had to come back and correct himself, like before the other. Like that happens all the time. They misspeak. They say something, it get misconstrued. That happens all the time. Like
It's
I feel
different.
like
It's different in the environment of what that game was. If it was a normal Sunday, there probably could have been other things that they could have talked about. There's other mistakes that happened on Sunday too that we all could have been like, well, yeah, that could have been different. Like, there's a lot that we could have nitpicked. But what my whole thing, and this is gonna sound like I'm defending him, I'm really not, because I got to a point where I stopped watching the post game press conference. I even texted Miller. I don't know if I did it to the group, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't,
I
because
don't usually watch it. I
rinse,
usually watch it on
it's
Twitter the
rinse,
next day.
repeat. The media asked the same question 4 weeks in a row. The 4 same exact question. He never changed. He never was. He never changed. He never said, you know what, last week, this is what was different. I could have done this, but I'm going to use it as a learning thing or whatever.
Right.
Any answer that he would have given at that point, you're already digging your own grave, because you've already shown that either you're hard-headed or you're trying to take this dagger for the team that doesn't even have your back anymore. Like, there's just a lot that the conference really fucked with my head. And that's the sad part.
The one thing that we're not considering here, which is probably the most realistic outcome, is he probably, maybe since the Washington game, because there was a report that came out after the Pats game, actually,
I think it was the
that
Patriots
game,
game,
the Patriots game, when Poles wanted to fire him. But my guess is he might have just been trying to save face and live to fight another day for another coaching job. And he didn't want to start making himself seem like a fucking complete idiot that he kind of behaved like during this losing streak, and was kind of just living out until he did ride off into the sunset. I would probably fathom that that's why he didn't take the accountability that kind of what was expected of him.
Yeah, like good luck getting another head coaching job.
Listen,
everybody go ahead.
I said this to Miller. Miller laughed. I think I might have put it in our group chat, not the main one, but I said he's going to be the hottest defensive coordinator in the market.
It's like Vrabel and Belichick out there.
Those are going to be head coaches, though. Those are going to be head coaches.
I don't.
He's going to probably get a defensive coordinator position, or what I think a rumor has it is he might go to college. That's the other.
My guess is, I don't. We this was when we were talking online gaming. I don't think that's 100% accurate. Now that I'm thinking about it, my guess is he's going to take a year off, and I think then he'll go to coaching the defensive DC. That would be my guess. I don't see a turnaround happening like that with him.
Yeah. I mean, since we're talking about flus, it's only fair we talk about really bad press conference.
Yes, that's fair.
Even though he was going to get fired, they were talking about it, but let him do a really ill-timed presser with the press right before he got fired. No one deserves that. Fucking give the man the dignity to get out. I thought that was really ill-timed. But you guys have any thoughts on the Poles Warren presser?
This is where I would like to request my 3 minutes uninterrupted.
Go for it. Miller,
yeah, it was really shitty how Eberflus came out at 9:00, and their excuse was, we were in the middle of deciding. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, so, we the decision was fucking made. Okay, we can have your 3 minutes. For the record, Elmo is clown show and Christmas tree is you need to stop talking, you idiot. So good luck.
You need to give me something better, because it's really thought out. So I decided to listen to the whole press conference of Warren and Poles. There was a report on ESPN that talked about who would actually lead the charge. And I believe this article caused the Bears to come out on a united front to put out that Poles will be leading the charge, while also he is the head of football operations. That statement was said multiple times during the press conference. During Hard Knocks, Poles had a hard time trying to cut someone that he felt deserved a chance. I can't remember his name, but he was a favorite of Hard Knocks, and
Adrian Colbert.
Thank you. And you can clearly tell that Poles just did not want to do it, but he even talked to one of the coordinators and said, we got to do it. It's for the best of the team. My message to Poles and to Warren is that those, from the moment the Bears lost to when you guys had the press conference, is probably the worst time that both of them have been in charge of the Bears, and it's the lowest moment in their careers. The fact that you couldn't make a schedule change, which in American society, you can literally cancel a Zoom meeting and put it for another proposed time, but you also felt the need to say, well, we talk all the time.
Bears
But
did
you-
it last week. Sorry, Chris.
Right.
Yeah.
But you go ahead and not have the fucking balls to be like, listen, something came up, we're rescheduling. This is a bad look. And already a lot of people are coming out and saying coaches need to be aware that this is the front office that you have. You guys unintentionally just made this what should be a top 5 opening of head coaches into the worst possible seat that you can have in the NFL. And the reason being is that any decision that you're going to make to bring in a head coach, that head coach is not going to feel empowered, because Poles sat there like he was in trouble. Poles sat there like there was, like the teacher was trying to tell him, stop making noise while we're trying to learn in class. And Warren, being the business dad, was trying to get him out of it. There was no purpose for Warren to be there if that article doesn't come out that people are already talking that he wants to bring someone in. There's already reports that they want to bring in the Notre Dame head coach. So, like, even with that, and Miller can agree to disagree, this is, if we have Poles and we have Warren, this is not the shiniest job that's out there. And
I mean,
it's
not
their
the
fault.
shiniest out of because of McCaskey's, but
Even that. But
are you done with the? Are you done with the?
Are you
3
done?
minutes?
No, how much time do I have left? Because I
I
love
don't
the
know.
silence.
I was in
Like
time.
40 seconds.
40 seconds, good. You guys can shut the fuck up for 40 seconds while I just ramble. But
Oh wait, that was not Rambo?
realistically, though, that press conference did more harm than good. As anyone, you guys can go ahead and be like, oh, well, we had to do that. We had to do this. Listen, if you fired fucking Flus at midnight, we would have been okay with it. We would have been like, hey, yeah, he got to enjoy his Thanksgiving. Or even in the fucking locker room, we would have been like, listen, bro, we're going to fire you, but we're going to announce it later. Like, anything. But the fact that we couldn't even be organized to not give this man a proper out, at least in one of the things it was said, Miller, I'm going to have to mute you. I don't know what the fuck you're doing to my
Sorry.
ear, but what was said in the press conference was Paul's was that, well, we wanted him to leave with dignity, so we wanted him to know beforehand. You fucking had him talking about the next opponent, which is non-existent for him. Like, that's just fucking ridiculous. And it leads me to believe that Poles is too young or doesn't have the balls to do this kind of job, or Warren is going to end up kicking him out in the next 2 years and is going to point to this scenario as one of the reasons why he needed to replace Poles. Poles is on the hot seat at this point.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done now.
It's cute you think Poles or Warren are in charge here.
They are. Listen, if you want to keep talking about McCaskey, they don't care.
Oh, fuck you. The reason it was so hard to like fire this coach, even like after the Patriots game, is because Bears in their 100 and fucking history have not fired a coach mid-season.
Boopin.
It doesn't matter about their history. It matters about the money.
That's the only.
Boopin.
That's, I mean,
So let me ask you this.
Money's fair.
No. Let me ask you this question.
Also that, I think.
Let me ask you this question. If Miller and I are in a press conference and we say, well, Boopin is the head of football operations. He's been the head of football operations since he's been here. He's responsible for leading the coach's search. if you're the head of football operations, guess what? It's your fault too that you didn't fire him. So if it's on you, if you're the head of football operations and you waited to make this decision, do you really think the McCaskey family had anything to say on that?
Supposedly,
Yeah, they do. Ownership has a play. Warren has a play.
But they just suffered the most embarrassing defeat. Do you really think that they're going to wake
wanted
up at
him
6
gone
a.m.?
after the
Okay,
Patriots.
so
I don't believe that.
first of all, so it's my time to talk. I have to try to gather my drunken thoughts.
What?
I'm gonna talk about everything you just fucking said. I think you were right about the presser. I think it probably did more harm than good just by the demeanor, especially that Poles had.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with your article take. I think Warren has the same role as Ted Phillips did, and Ted Phillips made his appearance with the GM multiple times. So Warren was going to be there regardless. I think the whole Eberflus thing, yes, it's a bad look. I agree with you. I think it's way overblown. And the reason I think it's overblown is because it was probably an error on some minion's fault. Do you really think
the blame on someone?
Do you really think that Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles know Matt Eberflus's calendar? You think they know every week that he goes on at 9 a.m.?
Yes.
I mean,
they approve the media availability.
Well, no, it's every week.
The media availability. The media availability is approved by the GMs.
Okay, yeah, probably at the beginning of the season.
They're approved every week.
No, it's not.
No bullshit.
It's approved every week.
Okay. No way. There's no way that he approved it. He approved it. I don't know.
Because it's easy to find. I don't know. Tell you guys that you're wrong.
I believe that there was just a disconnect. They didn't have a decision. They didn't realize that he was going to be coming on the radio because obviously this is a different week. This is a Thursday. They may have thought that he was going to be talking on Monday, not necessarily then. And thus the snowball effect occurred. That's why I think it's overblown. I do think it's a bad look. I will agree with you. I don't think it's going to affect the stature of this organization. I think there's too many positives here. Yes, Poles is on the hot seat, but I do think that this is the best job in the NFL as of right now because of the fact that you have a QB that is currently on pace to throw for 3,700 yards, 20 touchdowns, and under 10 interceptions. Yeah, baby.
So, do you want me to tell you you're wrong now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
According to the Pro Football Writers Organization, in Section 2 of their NFL Media Access Policy, it says, beginning no later than the week prior to the opening of the regular season, each club will make players available during the normal practice week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to accredited media for player interviews. Again, providing that player, on Monday, player availability may occur in an open locker room format in an interview for whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a point here.
Coaches, not players.
Yeah, well, but the club is responsible for putting those people out there. And then there's a statement here that says, I'm looking for it. It talks about having the coach.
All right, as you find that, a couple of things. My point on the presser was like, we talk about Poles. He has the control. We have never made a big splash, expensive hire. We're talking about Ben Johnson. That's a name thrown out there. He will be one of the most sought after name. Bears have never thrown big money at a coach. They have not brought us to like a coach like from there. So I want to ask you guys, will they finally make that big splash Ben Johnson hire? Maybe is there a chance of that happening for us?
I don't think so.
Kind of getting ahead of things here.
Well, I have the other points of this article too, and then
you need to figure out to prove your point that Poles signed off on this at least a week before this press conference.
Well, yeah, it's part of the club. So if you're the head of football operations, as you're being labeled, you're approving this.
Okay.
It says here, head coaches in addition
to
to holding a news conference after every game, head coaches must be available consistently to the media that regularly cover the team. The head coach must be available to the local media at least 3 days during each practice week from training camp through to the end of the season. The head coach must be available to local media the day after all games. For head coaches available to the media days on 3 days can be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and not again until post-game Sunday. At the club's option, the head coach may also made available.
So you can make an argument that due to those rules, he should know that Eberflus is going on file to talk that next day. But to sit here and say that he knows every single schedule for Matt Eberflus is a joke because he doesn't. No one does.
No boss knows what their workers doing.
Not every single meeting.
Oh, come on. That's such a horseshit.
It's called micromanagement.
Okay. I have
not every boss is like that.
If you know you're firing the guy and you know the guy is going to be talking
again,
to
it was an odd week. You don't know what.
And
again, there was a miscommunication. What if they started their meeting at 8:00? You're not going to necessarily.
They started at 7 and didn't finish till 9. But anyway, my last question is like Twitter rumors. Right, Miller, you are in charge of this. Rumors was that Flus was Poles' guy, and then he was banging on the table to keep him, and that's the reason why we had him. But like the recent news media outlet makes it sound like Poles wanted Flus gone after the Pats game. I'm just like these rumors, like where do they come from? Like, they look like they do a lot of harm. Looks like it was like not Poles, like keeping Flus here. So it's either Warren or McCaskey's right keeping him here. I just wanted to see like that dynamic and how it's playing out. Right now we are saying Poles' head is on the chopping block. Like I just think like that's.
Are we all in agreement on that? Poles is on a hot seat.
I don't think so. He's done better than most GMs do, especially with the Caleb trade. I think he's like good for a couple of years at least.
I want to say yes, just because how everything's gone down. But at the same token, I think he needs to really fuck up. And I don't think there's going to be an opportunity for him to really fuck up until Caleb's rookie contract is over. Because they're going to have the head coach. And unless this head coach goes and pulls a fucking, what's his name from Ohio State that went to the Jaguars and gets fired mid-season, I don't see that happening. I think it's going to...
Saban?
No. What's the other fucking guy's name? Oh, my God.
I'll go ahead.
Urban Meyer, maybe?
Urban Meyer, yeah. Unless the next head coach he hires goes to pull an Urban Meyer, I don't see this guy. I think he gets 3 years too. So that means that you're basically colliding at that 3-4 year mark with quarterback, head coach, and probably GM. Yeah, that is kind of what my theory is. Is he on the hot seat? Technically, I would probably say yes, because everything has been so bad. But I don't see him getting firing unless he really fucks up. And I don't think something of that will rear its head.
See, the thing is like you give great points, and I'm not even bullshitting you. Like I'm legit telling you like those are great points. But the presser that they had with Warren negates all of that. Like in my opinion, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to come out and you're trying to push this narrative that Poles is the guy. Every other decision that wasn't done prior to that sits on Poles. People can come over and say, oh, it's because McCaskey this, McCaskey that. The owners would have to essentially come out and say, this is our guy. Which the only team I think that has done that has been the Lions, maybe.
Wait, what? So you think ownership needs to make a stance?
If the rumors, I'm saying based on the rumors that we're talking about here, where Poles wanted to fire him, but then a couple months ago he was like defending Flus to the near end. At no point did ownership come out in favor.
They don't have to.
That's what I'm saying.
But then rich as fuck and old as fuck.
But you're missing the point that I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, they're not coming out and defending a person. So like if they're not coming out and defending a person and saying this is our guy, it's on Poles.
Okay, did you watch Hard Knocks with the New York Giants?
Yeah.
Okay, so like when they were like trading away Saquon, the GM literally was like informing.
They weren't trading him away though.
Sorry,
that's the difference.
when they were like making an offer on them, the owner was like, I'd really like to keep him. GM literally was telling him, hey, it's 14 million. Hey, it's 12 million. That's how much they were in touch.
But
so
here's the difference. Here's the difference in that scenario.
What is
Here's the difference in that scenario. he was ready to let him go. The owner was ready to let him go.
No,
His big
he
listen,
wanted him.
no. Listen, his biggest fear was that Saquon would go to the Eagles and how bad it would look. But he was letting
him gone.
But he was letting the GM do his job. He was literally going out there and telling him,
this GM
"That's what you want to do."
Fired because of that.
No, Boopin, if you watch the scene and if you watch it from a couple episodes back, he's the owner is not telling him keep or not keep Saquon. What he's saying is, if we lose Saquon, we're losing a core of our team of our identity, and it would suck if he goes to the Eagles.
He literally says, "I don't think I can go to bed at night
because he would be going to the Eagles. If he went to the Eagles, if he went anywhere else, he would not have cared."
Extrapolating, that's how ownership talks to the GM, right? Hey, make this happen. Like,
no, but see, he didn't say that. But he didn't say.
What the fuck did he say then?
He didn't say anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Guys, all ownership is different. You have some owners like Jerry Jones that are in on every day, and then you have the McCaskies. For the most part, they only care about their money because they're not rich. The only thing they have is the fucking Bears.
That's it.
$1 billion franchise.
Okay, but you're not Jerry Jones. It's sitting on $30 billion and $6 billion franchise. So I mean, bottom line is here. What happened is Eberflus is gone. Poles is on the hot seat, on question. We're now going to be scrutinizing every one of his moves. Is at the point where the trade is the trade, and it provided him with a lot of crop to grow this team, and now he needs to make the best of it.
Fair.
He's made good decisions. He's made bad decisions, as all GMs do. Now he needs to pick the right coach. And right now, the right coach for this team is apparently Thomas Brown. He's been named the interim coach. For all you newbies, let's dive into Thomas Brown and his resume, if you will. I'm not going to go all the way back, but he was a former player. He was a former running back. He started his real NFL coaching career with the Rams under McVay. He was the assistant head coach with the Rams for 2 years. He has gotten praise after praise after praise when he left the Rams and when he got this new head coaching gig from McVay himself. He's come out and given multiple praises to Thomas Brown and his demeanor and everything he brings and his aggressiveness and his will to win. All of that has been conveyed by Sean McVay, which is a huge plus in my opinion. After the Rams 2 years, he was the OC for the Panthers. He didn't really call plays because Frank Reich did, but he took over that duty with about 6 games left, judge of there. And then he came to our team, was a passing game coordinator. We subsequently got the offensive coordinator position when Waldron was fired 3 weeks ago, and now he's the head coach. So things have gone fairly rapidly with him. He is a young head coach. What are our thoughts on our initial thoughts on Thomas Brown being a head coach for this team? Do we like that move? Do we think it should have been someone else? What are our thoughts?
I'd love to hear him speak. Like you know what he said yesterday? He was like, for that loss in Detroit, we're all accountable, including me. That's what he said. And like, he didn't have to. Like, he could have just been like, here's what I'm doing for San Francisco. Whatever.
So he should have been fired too.
No, he took accountability. He said, like, it's on all of us. We need to do better. Like, and after the Green Bay game, he was like, there's no attaboys. We didn't win. There's no attaboys for not winning, you know? And if you hear him talk, he sounds like a young Mike Tomlin. He's like, the 3 things he said was accountability, he said coachability, and he said, what was the D word?
Dependability, even though some people don't know the definition of words, but it's fine.
Yeah, dependability. Like he like said like those things, and I'm just like, just hearing him speak, and then that's like words he uses and how he holds himself accountable. I am pumped. Like, he's a young head coach, and I think there will be a learning curve again for him. I'm hoping he's ahead of the curve, but I'm really excited to see what he does the rest of the game.
Miller, go ahead and praise it before I shit on it. So go ahead.
Okay. So, Boopin, while I understand the thought process, I don't know that I'm entirely in agreement that because of how young he is. I mean, at the end of the day, when you get someone like a Ben Johnson, when you get some of these quote-unquote hot guys, They have no more coaching experience than Thomas Brown does. So it is nice that they are giving him a chance. But I'm really torn. Like this whole scenario, I'm just thinking about it like constantly on like, is this the right move? Is this the wrong move? And the thing that I'm getting stuck on is I do agree with you in the sense that I think he will be a future head coach. My only concern is it maybe 5 years too early? And if we do that, it could be a disaster, and it may not show face in these next 5 games that it's a disaster. Now, he could come to impress me, and maybe he does do things because there are very much Tomlin similarities. But I honestly, I am just so torn on this situation because you have these people like Ben Johnson, who is the hot coordinator, but this guy is in your building. He's shown good rapport because not only is he now the head coach, is he seems to have a good relationship with Caleb, and now you're jeopardizing that. So like at one point, it's like, yes, you want to see what he's got, because if you don't right now, then you probably won't ever.
Yeah,
because realistically,
money right now. We have
because realistically, if you don't have him as the head coach and you get someone else to come in, you might be hard pressed to keep him. So the fact that you're giving him a shot at head coach now, you're kind of painting him into the corner. And will that affect Caleb moving forward? Because now he's going to be on the sideline instead in the booth. He's not only focused on Caleb, he has to be focused on everything. So that could make things more difficult. I just don't know. I really don't. And it's just fucked up. I don't know. Go, Chris.
So
shit on him.
This is how my thought process went. It's like a pickup basketball game. You pick who you think is great, and then you get left with the 3 people that we all consider are dog shit, and we don't know who to pick. And he's the best of what we have in-house. So I think we can all agree that of the people we have in-house, he's the one. And I think
supposedly the special teams coordinator is usually the first one that gets a consideration.
I mean, he gets a consideration, but given what the Bears are right now, you probably would have gone that route. Now, here's where he's essentially now another lame duck, which sucks because we are going to have a predicament if this guy just happens to win 5 games and Caleb plays well. Because if he wins 5 games, then guess what? Now we have to decide, all right, do we want to keep him, or are we going to have a 4th coordinator come in and work with, is it a 4th or a 3rd? I think it's a 4th now.
If we win 5 games, we keep him. That's a good. That's
what are you even talking about this being a predicament? If he comes in and wins 5 games against one of the hardest schedules in the league, you're gonna say that this is a predicament?
Yes.
No, it's not a predicament. That's like you hire him on the spot.
No. Like I think but expectation, Chris. What are your expectations from him that would keep?
I don't have any expectations. I said it on the group chat.
Going 5-0 is not good enough for you. No. What is your expectation with him? You are already he's destined to fail in your head.
He's a lame duck.
Why is it okay? First of all, he wasn't the most qualified coach. Let's just make that clear. Eric Washington has almost 20 years experience in the NFL coaching. Special teams coach has a lot of experience coaching. He wasn't the most experienced, but I don't think they were going to ever be considered for the head coaching job. Right. I think him and his demeanor would, like Boopin mentioned, the potential of being a head coach. I think that's why they made him, which could be a detriment. But going back to Boopin's point, if you're sitting here saying that you're concerned that if they go 5-0, they're going to hire the guy, are you just at the point where he can't be hired? Why is he a lame duck?
He's a lame duck because if he goes 0-5, he's fired anyway.
I don't know. I mean,
hold on. No. Let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic here.
That could be fair.
You go 0-5, you're not keeping him.
Well, like Chris, we've lost.
Wait, no buts. Hold on, Boopin. Hold on.
We've lost the last 4 games.
Irrelevant. You have a new head coach.
No. hang on.
It's
We've
not
lost-
irrelevant, first of
like,
all.
My point was we've lost the last 3 games, but Caleb was looking good, and that's why we are feeling better about the team. The win and loss at that point is secondary, right?
See, there it is. See, that's the point that I'm trying to make. You're now trying to say that the win and loss is secondary. You're only looking at the development of Caleb Williams. Or is that a correct statement for both of you guys?
Yes.
No.
If
See,
you would let us,
hold on.
If you would, here, let me put it this way for you,
Okay, go ahead.
As you're thinking, what are the criteria to judge this guy to keep him or not keep him? Number one for me is Caleb's progression. I want Caleb to grow, look competent, keep us in the games, manage the games better. That's number one for me. Number two, the team playing smart, clean football and not hurting themselves. These penalties and everything that we do, we gotta look cleaner than we did in the past. Number three, closing out games. Those are the 3 things I'm looking for.
Okay, fantastic. Let me rebuttal some of these. Since Brown has been the offensive coordinator, the penalties have not gone down. They're about the same. So you can't come in here and talk about, well, we need to play clean
Sure.
football.
He's not
nope, doesn't matter.
You can't change that overnight.
Can't change that. You cannot change
not
that.
overnight, but what I'm saying is
But what difference does he have as an offensive coordinator and penalties that he would not have as a head coach?
Head coach, you are the GM. You run this shit.
He ran the offense.
You can hold people more accountable.
You hold them accountable, but if he was running the offense and they have the same amount of penalties, it's irrelevant.
Chris, it's like you telling someone you manage what to do versus your manager or the GM saying what to do. I think there's more consequences. More importantly, I think he can inspire people.
I think that's the only facet that we can have here. I think he brings a different demeanor based on his talking. That could it's a different voice that's going to be in the locker room now.
I agree with that, but listen to you still don't answer my question. If when Waldron got fired and Brown was handling all of the offense as an offensive coordinator, and you just said that I want to see cleaner football. Cleaner football.
Point. First point was Caleb's progression, which is
Caleb's progression. Caleb's progression
in that.
Okay, but that's fine.
That was number one for me.
Okay, that's fine.
So you know.
Okay, that's fine. But
so he's kicking ass is what I want to tell you.
No one cares about that. Yeah, no one cares about that. No one cares. Everyone knows Caleb's number one. But this is what I'm trying to ask you. If you're trying to say that Caleb's progression is great, but the offense still has penalties and they went 0-5, he's gone.
Yes, probably.
So then you're a lame duck. No matter which way you look at it, if Caleb breaks every possible fucking record, if Caleb breaks every possible record,
I disagree. Then
hold on,
I disagree.
Chris,
listen,
when did you learn this term?
Listen,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen.
Go ahead.
If Caleb breaks every possible record in the span of 5 games, whatever they are, most touchdowns, most yards, 0 interceptions in those 5 games, and the Bears go 0-5, he's not staying.
I completely disagree.
Why is that?
Completely disagree. If you're going to frame it like that, I disagree.
Why is that, though?
Because the goal is to have Caleb's progression, and it's also to show that you have the offensive side of the ball on the right track.
I don't see why you're showing lame duck when we all know what a lame duck coach is. Eberflus was a lame duck coach. Nagy became a lame duck coach.
Yes, but it doesn't start right from the beginning.
It happened 3 times in a row. It doesn't
start right from the beginning. And if you're going to tell me if the offense is running on 4 cylinders like the Bengals and the fact that and they're scoring 38, 45 points a game and the defense is blowing it, he's not getting fired. He's already made it clear.
Wait a minute. See,
that the defensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball is Eric Washington.
Okay.
So if that becomes the issue, then that needs to be a change. We are not going to.
We just fired the guy that was calling. We just fired the guy that was calling the defense. You now have a head coach who is now responsible of that as well.
He's not calling the defense, Chris.
But it's Boopin just said it's his responsibility.
It's
Like,
not
people-
his responsibility.
No,
He's
no.
the head coach.
He is the head coach. It is
He's
still
not
his
going to.
responsibility.
It's his overall responsibility.
Chris,
He is
if you-
not
so
going
it's
to be
not his
managing the
responsibility.
day-to-day things
So
in the defensive
So
side.
it's not his
Dude,
responsibility,
Chris,
but
you're
it's
doing the
his
same thing.
overall
You-
responsibility.
Chris, you're doing the same thing that you do with Caleb. Oh, he took a penalty. You like nitpicking shit. Like,
How's that nitpicking?
like
So is the CEO in charge of the COO?
like, yeah,
Yes.
if there's a
They're in
department
charge
the
of all
business,
of the operations.
Yes. If the,
If-
C-
And
the
then I
CEO
can't help
is in-
you.
the
like,
CEO is responsible
okay.
for one thing, the CEO is responsible for another. But if something fucks up, the CEO is going to go too.
I
Like,
agree
let's
with
not-
you.
That's what I'm saying. So what
But
I'm trying
that
to tell
doesn't
you,
mean the CEO
the
is
Chicago-
responsible
but if
for
the Chicago
dealing with
Bears-
the COO's things.
Miller,
especially
if
when
the
the
Chi-
CEO didn't hire the COO.
you guys are not understanding what I'm trying to tell you. If
You
the
are
coach,
being a hater.
that's not being a hater.
No,
Look,
he's not being a hater. He's viewing this entire thing as a whole piece.
Yes.
And if one part fails, the whole thing is gone, which
Yes.
is not correct.
it's
because
gonna
the defensive-
happen though.
No. Because the defensive side of the ball is already going through changes. Eberflus is
Right.
gone, and it's going to
And
Washington.
who's
If
responsible
the
for
offense
making
that's
sure that
already
that
shown
goes well?
progress continues to show more progress, they're going to let the defense go and let Thomas Brown bring in a new staff. That is going to happen. They are not married at the hip at this point.
But Miller, this is what I don't understand, and you guys think that I'm
Chris,
nitpicking.
Eric did not, bro. Sorry, Thomas Brown did not bring Eric Washington. He was already here.
That's my
why
point.
That's why you're not understanding.
Why do this is what I'm saying. Of the coaches that were here still, who would have been the best option to be the head coach?
You don't know. We are fucking making guesses over here.
Not Tom, if you want my honest opinion, it's not Thomas Brown. If you're looking for a head coach, they're doing this because of what we've talked about on the
For
fact
Caleb.
that he is on the trajectory to be a head coach. He has the demeanor, he has not the
but Miller, he
experience,
didn't-
but he is projected to get there. So
But
they
Miller,
are hoping that he can show something early to prove that he can be this.
But Miller, they're only made this decision solely based on what they've been producing with Caleb. Are we not agreeing on that?
That
I
is-
don't agree with that.
I
Why?
agree with that.
This is. Do you see the situation? Like,
So you're booping. You think that he got the head coach because of 3 weeks of work?
I mean, like, I hope there's more than that, but like, they see the work that they're doing, and they want to see what else is possible with this offense.
I don't agree with that. I
And
think he's been set up on a trajectory to be an eventual head coach because of
the
his
timeline got
past.
moved up too fast.
And I think that at this point they view him as a potential
Okay.
good head coach, where I don't think the other position
Question.
coaches are going to be the future head coach, where I see he could be in that conversation. So rather than giving it to someone else, they gave it to him to give him a tryout.
Okay, Miller.
That's my view.
Would you agree that had we not had the 3 weeks, had the offense not looked better after Shane Waldron, he was not going to get this opportunity? Do you agree with that at least? Then
I disagree because we were all on. You guys were. Well, I'm not going to say we. The majority of Bear fans were under the impression that a coaching change was not going to happen because of history.
That's fair.
So
That's
we
fair,
can't,
Boopin.
we can't even say that.
I think we can.
Miller disagreed. So I think,
Miller
I think
also
if
said
he-
they weren't going to fire him, and I was right. But like, it's just, it's
I
the
mean-
same thing. Like
I mean,
you
like,
can't
you've been-
you can't really
you-
predict these things.
For the
don't
record,
you don't
I said
own
you
what
were right when you first made the prediction. I think you had a point, and I said I didn't think it was going to happen since they fired Waldron. Rock.
I was still right. This is my thing, and the reason why I'm saying
Okay.
he's more of a lame. duck
Okay,
than
I want to
anything, and we can
focus.
move
I
on.
want to focus on this lame duck thing because you never really expanded on the fact that you think he's a bad coach, and if he
Oh, no, I'm-
goes 5-0, that
If
you
he goes
think
5-0,
he's not even a consideration to you.
Because- and this is more like what I see, and not necessarily what I've read, but this is how I've seen other coaches happen and how they get looked at. Whenever there was a situation with the Oakland Raiders where they fired their head coach and they brought in the special teams coordinator, and I think from that moment he got them close to the playoffs or in the playoffs. He didn't get the head coaching job. They decided to still bring someone else.
John Gruden.
There you go. Now, what I think is going to end up happening is something similar to that. Because if you think Thomas Brown can win the job, you have to set certain goals, whatever the goals they are. I think we all agree Caleb's progression is going to be 1A. That's the most important thing there. But then you have to look at the team as a whole because he is now the head coach. You can no longer just look at the offensive side of things. You have to look at everything because he's the head coach. Do I think this team has what it takes to get some wins? Yes. But if he goes 0-5, the decision to fire him is easier than trying to defend them to stay because of Caleb. That's what I'm trying to say.
You said 0-5, but you said even if he goes 5-0, you don't want him.
No, that's not what I said.
I said something along those lines.
I said if he goes 5-0, it's a situation where now you're forcing polls to either bring in one of these hot, highly big name coaches that are not out there, and you are now comparing those coaches to Brown, who has 5 games under his belt.
8 games. Yeah.
Or 8 games, but 5 as a head coach. Like, you are in a lose-lose situation at that point. Because now you're saying these 5 games that he did with Caleb supersedes anything else that all these other guys did. I don't think we've seen coaches with success and still not get the job. That's what
up to this point, Chris. We've talked on the extreme. Boopin's laid out his opinion. What's yours? What are you looking for? How are you judging him moving forward?
I'm on the boat that you guys are with. I'm on the point with. Let's see what he can do with Caleb. If he does a good job and they don't offer him the head coach position, he might get a really
What's your definition of a good job?
See, I didn't even think that far.
I know. That's why I'm giving you the question. You like the oddball question, so
that is a good oddball question. I think if I can no longer nitpick dumb shit that Caleb has done and we see week to week improvement, I think that's a start.
Bro, he's a rookie though. Come on.
This is so stupid.
Keep saying that.
Yes, you can. You actually can for the whole rookie season.
Boopin, you had a rookie in Houston go nuts.
You're historic year.
Doesn't matter. It's still a rookie. It's the NFL, buddy.
You're a complete hater because he needs to be perfect in your books because he hasn't made a mistake the last 6 games. He hasn't thrown an interception and he hasn't given up a fumble.
Fantastic. Good for him.
But that's not good enough.
Let me ask you guys this question then. If Caleb does worse, if he throws 2 or 3 interceptions every game the rest of the way.
Yes.
Guess what?
He's gone.
There you go.
I mean,
so at that point, what are you
nitpicking though?
But see, hold on.
I'm in the neutral. I said 5-0.
No. Hold on. Let me finish this. But then at this point, you guys will nitpick his performance, and then you will say, "That's Caleb," or "That's on the head coach." Where
That's where life exists in nuances. It's not not like black and white. It's never.
It is. It's the NFL. It is
not black and white. No, this is going to be full. This is going to be full of nuance. It'll be interesting because realistically, it's not going to be the extremes. It's going to be in the middle, and I'm really struggling to
if he gets
to
2
set
wins,
my
I'll be
criteria
happy.
to juggle this because the bottom line is Caleb is our quarterback of the future. I think he's the best one that we've had in the history of the Chicago Bears, and I think he's going to be good moving forward. The question is who is going to be able to get the best out of this team moving forward, and is Thomas Brown a competent person? So I'm not as much focused on Caleb's progression. Obviously, if he regresses extreme, I will be very concerned, which he can do because he now has to be the head coach rather than just the offensive coordinator. But I think I'm more hoping for situational football to see how he can handle things. I'm expecting a rebound from the entire team. I think they'll play a little better, a little harder, because they do have a new voice, and it sounds like things in the locker room were very wishy-washy. We saw it with Waldron. We saw it with Waldron. It didn't sound like he was coaching the players half the time. Now that's going to change because this coach is coming in and expecting accountability, which is good to see. It'll be interesting to see if they do that and how that goes. But I am struggling at defining my definition of when he's going to stay. It's definitely not in result of win-loss record, but except for the extremes. If he goes 0-5, I feel like he'll probably be fired. Now, if we're going to play the scenario out where Chris said that Caleb is breaking all the records, I don't think he will be fired. But realistically, if he goes 0-5 and Caleb plays mediocre football, they'll probably move on from him. But if he goes 5-0 and Caleb plays mediocre football, he's probably our head coach. Because at the end of the day, we probably have the hardest schedule in the NFL.
And that's the big issue, because all of this talk of bringing in a head coach and you're going to end up keeping him. Now, I will say,
that's the problem. That's the issue that we're focusing on. Your demeanor. If they go 5-0 right now and beat Seattle, the Niners, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit, which are all conceivably playoff teams, like, are you really going to sit here and say that is a problem? Like, no.
Yeah, yes, you will.
Yes, I will.
That's insane.
So,
you're talking about right now. The Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings are probably top 7 ranked.
Right, but those are 3 losses.
Top 7 in the NFL. And if we beat all of them, you're thinking, you're just like, no, we're not keeping this guy. That is what is not getting me right now. I agree with you. I think we'll lose probably 3 of those. But the fact that you're just automatically like not counting it a big deal if we go 5-0 is crazy to me.
Okay, Chris, because you might have the best answer prepared for this, so I'll ask you this. If not Thomas Brown, who do you want to coach the Bears next?
I don't know.
I obviously then define the parameters. Define what side of the ball you want then.
I mean, we're forced offense at this point. It has to be an offensive-minded coach. I think if you're gonna bring a defensive-minded coach, but Brown does a great job, and you offer him the highest contract that an offensive coordinator can make, and he can go back to being an offensive coordinator.
He's not going back. That's my
Come on, dude. Stop talking hypotheticals.
That's what they did in Oakland.
Because we promoted him, he will never go back.
You talk about hypotheticals, but it's happened in NFL history. That's the part that you guys are.
When?
I literally just brought up Oakland. They ended up.
That guy went back.
Yes.
To a different team.
No, he went back to the Raiders.
No, he didn't. He went to
he did.
He went to Green Bay. I know. Versace, who's you're talking about? They call it the Versace bump.
He didn't go the following year.
He did. He went the next year and had an amazing special team in Green Bay.
Pretty sure that's not the case.
I will bet money. How much money do you want to bet?
I'll give you his name. I'll give you a hug and a kiss.
Rich Versace is his name. They call it a Versace bump. That's a real thing. But Miller, do you have someone in mind that you would like?
I still think I'm on the Ben Johnson bandwagon. I do. I just have seen what he's done with Goff, and I don't think Goff is as good as he has been portrayed. And I think a lot of that comes from Ben Johnson. And I think he has been the offensive coordinator for, 3 years at this point. He does have the experience to take that next step, where some of the other guys, like the guy from Houston, like the guy from Tampa, may not. I know there's a lot of talk about Joe Brady from the Bills as well, which could be a thought too, because what he's done with Josh Allen. But at the end of the day, I think I don't know, man. I would have been a little. This is the only argument that I would have for not making Thomas Brown the head coach and focusing on a defensive head coach and leaving him the offense. But then you leave the liability of him leaving. So I understand not doing that, but I'm just very much torn. I'm just very much interested to see what happens. And I'm hopeful. I am hopeful because I'm a fucking Bears fan and I'm fucking miserable all the time. So I'm hopeful.
A wild card I want to throw out there, if it happens, is Kevin Stefanski. If Cleveland gets rid of him, I would love to have him. I feel like, look at what he's done with like freaking Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco last year. And then I don't even know, like think of a player like that you don't think you can win a game with. He's done well with them. That would be an interesting name to throw out there. I think Ben Johnson would be the number 1 pick, but I think that will be a number 1 pick for a lot of other people. And if we know Bears, they are not going to pay for the top tier people. They don't want to spend that money on coaches.
I mean, Kevin Stefanski's, I don't know. I don't know if I'm bored for, if I'm on board for getting failed head coaches. I don't know. I get your point. Like, but realistically, Cleveland is known for their defense, not their offense.
Hey, talk about another team that's known for the defense, not the offense.
All right, so I guess I was wrong. I thought he was given the. I thought because I saw 2021 was when he had that, and then 2022 was when he went to the playoffs. So I had my years wrong.
You're welcome.
Screenshot.
You're welcome. I knew who the guy you were talking about too.
Yeah.
Okay, like I guess we've talked enough about this, but I'm sad he got promoted to. I'm with you, Miller. I wish he was our OC for a little bit longer. He stayed there, but I don't think that's happening. We'll see. Like, we're on board. I want to see how he does. Like, it'll be a lot of pressure on him. It's very different to be a head coach versus just an offensive coordinator.
So now, if Caleb fucks up, we can now say that it's a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach. So then we can blame someone else entirely.
Sure, if you want to go with that logic.
I mean, that's the logic you guys go with.
What we can do is we can blame DJ Moore.
There you go. That works.
Okay, score prediction. I was the closest. Miller was off by a point. Sorry, Miller. Positivity score. I will start off so you assholes can think. I was at a 5.5. I do like the direction the team's going. I feel like even the dumbest person in the room could tell you that Flus would not be here at the end of the year. So it happened early. Unsure the direction we are going right now. Hopeful, but unsure. So I'm going to bump it up to a 6.
This is the same thing you said last week. You love the direction the team was going, and look where it took them.
No, I think he talked more about Caleb.
Okay.
I am an 8. I think that's probably pretty high. But I was on cloud 9 with Caleb, and I still am on cloud 9. And if I'm going to adjust my score after this week, it is definitely I was an 8, Boopin. It definitely isn't going to go 9, or it isn't going to go down. So you know what? We're riding on, boys. 8.5. Let's go.
Okay, that's the highest score we've had all season. You're tied with Jeff for the highest positivity.
I don't know, dude.
Chris, you were 0 last week for the Bears.
And 7 for Caleb.
Yeah,
since you've created 2 stores.
Yeah. Caleb 6. He gets a point blame for what happened. It's
but
not
remember,
a big
he
blame.
did that sack last year.
Let's move it. Let's realize. Last week he hadn't thrown a touchdown pass in 4 weeks, and he gave him a 7. This week he throws 3 touchdown passes, and he drops him to a 6.
But then he took that sack, Miller. Remember that one sack?
Yep.
Your rating scale is such bullshit. It's so fucking shitty.
Again, it cost us the game. But
no.
I'm at a 4.
Wow, that's a big improvement. 400%.
You can't times 0 by that.
Yeah,
so that's not correct.
It's an incremental.
It's an infinite increase.
Hey, positivity score is my thing. Okay, I get to decide what units they are. Okay, take it or leave it. Okay, I think we have talked ad nauseum about the Bears' current fucked up situation. With all this being said, we are taking this and we are playing the 49ers. We actually have a game this week, believe it or not. Bears 4-8, last place in NFC South.
Okay, no, stop talking. We're playing the Niners. The Niners are in a really bad situation with injuries. It'll be interesting to see how the Bears handle it. Obviously, the defensive line for the Niners is very key. Will our offensive tackles that have played fairly well over these last few games step up to stop Nick Bosa? The offensive side of the 49ers is hurt immensely. The Brandon Ayuk is out. Haven't heard anything on Trent Williams, who is their left tackle, but he was out last game. Fred Warner appears to be hurt, but we'll see how their defense does against our offense. And we'll move forward with that. What are predictions?
The over-under is 43.5, and San Francisco is favored by 4.5 points before you make your prediction.
Can you show your cup one more time, Miller? Dude,
do you really want him to read all that?
It's empty. I I had good things written down. You.
Yeah, I know. We're at an hour and 30. Okay. Do you really want him to read all that?
This is the third time that Boopin's been excited to transition to the next game, and Miller's like, "Fuck you." Blah 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 blah.
They're good. They're bad.
An hour 30. An hour 30.
Go ahead, Miller. Since you want to keep talking, what's the prediction?
Niners. I think I'm so torn. I am doing 23.
Jesus,
23-17 Bears.
Oh fuck.
That's a bad call. It's gonna be wrong, but it's okay. I think that'll be my second loss in the year.
I'm gonna say 49ers win 24-20.
You guys are taking all my thunder here.
We just named both teams and we're taking all his thunder.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess
Question: you can always choose a tie.
Yeah, so you can say a tie.
I guess I could. I mean, people forget that this is a afternoon game, so
I know one of the Rams. We don't play in the afternoon.
yeah, and it's in
Sucks.
San Francisco. You know what? I'm gonna say 35-24 Bears.
Whoa! Sign him up. Thomas Brown, here we come.
I think this is one of the games. I think he can get 2 wins out of the 5, and I think this is one of them. Injuries are going to be helpful. CMC being out, it's going to be helpful. I think there is going to be a little bit of more pizzazz on this team, but I will say anything that happens with this team now, I'm blaming it on the players. The players, they got what they wanted. They got the head coach out. If they don't put up for this guy, they're not going to put up for anyone. And then this franchise is already in the shambles. So I think this could be a game where it's like, all right, Caleb, you're in your home state. Let's do what
He's from Washington, bro.
Or you're in your alma mater state.
It's a big
Go
state.
do what you got to do.
Not even in this fucking same.
It's his state. I wouldn't be surprised if there's USC jerseys out there.
Well, that's fair, but there's USC jerseys in Soldier too.
No, there isn't.
He was at a Notre Dame game, so yeah, I'm sure there is a lot.
They retired his number. Not a lot to do. You just lost in the Thanksgiving debacle. But yeah, let's go have a good time and retire your number. No.
That doesn't change his what he did for the game, just because they lost.
Yeah, he still lost.
All right.
He won the Heisman though, so he did win that.
Not last year. Wasn't that the argument? I just did an argument that Ben did. That's something Ben would say. Yeah, he didn't win it last year.
All right.
Shout out, Ben.
Fantasy corner, Miller, quickly. Last week before playoffs. Let's start organizing for the playoff run. Look at the people drop. Tomorrow there may be some interesting people being dropped because people are trying to win this one game this week. Look at the defenses too. Also, if you're already in the playoff, don't drop your backup running backs for like meaningless defenses. Look at matchups. I think that's fun. If you're already in, look at matchups, see what you can do. I am playing somebody whose quarterback was on a bye this week, so I picked up a backup that I didn't need just so he wouldn't have him. So things like that, you can get creative if you wanted to. Anything you want to add, Miller?
You covered it, bro.
Awesome.
Well, I have questions.
Oh, God. I tried to shorten this. I tried to do it in 5 minutes, but apparently we're not.
Mooney's not doing well for you these days. How are you doing?
Mooney should be on his bench because
Mooney was on my
Irving's
bench.
playing.
Yeah, and I had Irving in his spot. So
well done.
I kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm running into a predicament.
I don't know, buddy.
Hey, brother, 10-3, first overall in my league.
Yeah. What about the other teams?
What other teams? That's the only one I'm running. I do have a question for Miller. Miller, we still have Kincaid in the injury report, and Knox had a somewhat decent game, I guess you could say, for a backup tight end.
Snow game too. Yeah.
On a snow game, would you say that you would want to keep that combination, or are we safe to drop Knox to bring Kincaid up?
I wouldn't do anything with that, unfortunately.
Who's your other tight end?
I don't have it.
Have one.
Okay.
You're riding with Buffalo because they're playing the Rams, so it's a fairly good matchup. Could be potentially high scoring. So you don't want to drop either player. You want to ride that.
I will be dropping Deasley from the Chargers because I need to pick up a kicker because the Texans are on bye. Who is a good kicker? Because a lot of kickers are missing kicks nowadays.
Romo from Minnesota.
Isn't Riker might be back?
There is rumors that Riker might be back.
Who's Riker?
They're Minnesota's kicker.
Kitcher.
Who's available?
Folk, Bass, Myers, Cardi.
Bass. Jake? Okay. Jake or Tyler? No, Tyler. Jake. Tyler. Take Tyler.
All right. I'm dropping my tight end then for that.
Who else was there?
Who else did I say? It was Folk from Tennessee,
No.
Bass from Buffalo, Myers from Seattle, Cardi from Rams, and Little from Jacksonville. Pinero is still in there.
Tyler Bass should be your number one, and I don't know what else you said.
That's fine. And I'm dropping
this has gone too long
from the Chargers. So did that. Thank you for that. But yeah, your boy won again. That is now 9 in a row, and I'm having a good time over here.
Are you number 1 seed?
I am number 1 seed, but John and I are tied with 10-3. So this week, if I win, I keep it. But I think
are you playing John?
I'm not. So it's.
Do you have most points?
As of right now, I do, but I think it's only like a difference of 50 points. So
it's pretty. He won't pass you at 50 points, most likely.
He scored 140 yet again. So it's been a close race. I hope everyone's having fun this year with fantasy. I've been having a good time because I'm winning and I'm not crying about it.
Just because I drafted your team, bro.
Well, we drafted together, realistically.
Now look, you notice how this has changed, moving over.
It's
the
15
weeks.
points difference on the for, and I have 100 points on the against. So, and I think we go by 4. So,
but yeah. I don't even know what you fucking just said.
All right,
it didn't even make any sense.
Send us home.
I don't sign off.
You are tonight.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a nice like. That's what we need to move forward. We are a young podcast and appreciate all and any feedback. Be sure to shout us out on Twitter. Maybe someday we will have some positivity in the city of Chicago. But until then, we can just worship our boy Thomas Brown as the new interim head coach. But I love you all. And that is a fact. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Good night. Well done, Miller.
That was so long.
We knew this was